Until Mom Do Us Part. I think it's best to start off the story on our wedding day, specifically our wedding reception. Like any other typical wedding reception, my wife danced with her father. He's uncomfortable dancing, so they danced for about 40 seconds. Then I danced with my mother. We picked a slower song and danced almost 2 minutes. As my mother and I finished, the MC of the ceremony announced, "Groom, stay on the dance floor because we're going to have another mother-son dance." I knew nothing about this extra dance, so I turned to my wife, who was sitting down. I could tell by her face she was shocked and did not know what was going on. Just to give you some context, my wife and I have known each other for 3 years. My mother-in-law and I do not get along. Honestly, I just started talking to her parents after we got engaged. The wedding and our marriage were supposed to be a fresh start and the burying of all previous issues. One of the reoccurring issues has been her mother inserting herself into our relationship and consistently lying. So now I'm standing on the dance floor, and my mother-in-law walks out. I have no idea what song is going to be played. I don't know if it's a slow song or fast song. I don't know if she has a routine to the music or anything. I know nothing. The music starts, and I'm familiar with the song. She's dancing hard to stay on beat as the crowd cheers us on. Luckily, I love to dance. We hit it off on the dance floor and put on a great show. Such so, after the dance, some guests asked if we had practiced our routine. I just played along, with the comments as if the dance was coordinated. But it wasn't. My mother-in-law had never seen me dance. Was she trying to put me in a situation where I would fail or make me look stupid? The mention of this dance was vetoed early by my wife. After the dance, I started to think back to all the other red flags leading up to this day, like when my mother-in-law offered to walk my wife down the aisle with her father, her mother yelling from a moving car at us, and the hidden family secrets. All this one is just the tip of the iceberg with my mother-in-law. I'll start from the beginning. Based on a true story, Until Mom Do Us Part.
Until Mom Do Us Part. To be fair to all involved, it was not all bad times, especially with my wife and I. The troubles were generally based around one key character, my mother-in-law. For this saga, I will introduce all the main characters, including myself. This is around late 2017 and early 2018. I'm in my mid-30s with no children. I played college sports and continued to work out. Professionally, my career is taking off, which landed me the opportunity in a different state in this small town which happened to be my wife's hometown. I am becoming a doctor in my field, and that demands a lot of my time. Personally, I'm doing well. I have attained career status early. I own my home and multiple cars. I'm focused on my career, but open to meeting someone special. My wife is in her late 20s. She had recently moved in with her parents as she had taken a job at a local nonprofit. Initially, she had received her bachelor's degree and stayed in the same town where she attended college. Her alma mater is about 2 hours away from her hometown. Remember this, as it comes back up later in this story. She wasn't dating anyone, so most of her time she was with parents or hanging with her friends from high school. One day at work, an older female colleague pulled me to the side and said, "I have the perfect girl for you to meet. She is just a sweetheart. You would love her." Flattered but overwhelmed, I was starting to give excuses and say my typical, "I'm too busy." Then she showed me a picture and I was intrigued. I wanted to meet her. I wanted to learn more about her, and I was attracted. The colleague was so happy she made an impromptu phone call for us to talk. Our conversation was light, fun, and did not take any effort. We agreed to exchange phone numbers and go on a date to officially meet in person. The colleague who had made the initial love connection was very proud. We concluded the conversation with the colleague sharing one important detail. Suspenseful voice. She said, "I have to tell you that her mother can be overbearing at times. I have heard she can be very mean and nasty to people. She has not done anything to me, but I figured I should let you know in case you two meet." I heard the advice, but I did not take heed. Based on a true story, Until Mom Do Us Part.
Until Mom Do Us Part. Our first date was a simple lunch date. We both laughed a lot, and I asked her a lot of questions as she talked, and I just listened. I was drawn to her carefree spirit and southern charm. Over the next 3 weeks, we talked every day, had 5 total dates, and our very first kiss. Soon she mentioned her parents wanting to meet the guy she was starting to spend time with, especially since I wasn't local. I had never been to their home because she would come to my apartment or we would meet at a public place. We decided to go to Red Lobster for dinner so I could officially meet her parents. At Red Lobster, her father introduced himself and in a jokingly manner said, "Is this the guy who's causing all the arguing in my house from keeping my daughter out late?" I smiled and chuckled, "Who, me?" while shaking his hand. Internally, I felt blindsided. We had not been hanging out excessively, and typically both of us made it home by midnight. I didn't let the remark ruin the evening, but it was an odd first impression. For the rest of the evening, we all exchanged pleasantries and had a wonderful dinner. At the table, I couldn't help but notice there was minimal resemblance between my girlfriend and her parents. I paid for the dinner to also add to a great first impression. It was the start of a new year, and I was visiting my girlfriend's home for the first time. She warned me about her hyper-barking dog, who barks at everyone and can get very noisy. Upon entering the home, to everyone's surprise, the dog did not bark at me one time. In fact, the dog was instantly drawn to me in a good way, even laying in my lap. The closest thing I can compare this experience to is the scene from the movie There Is Something About Mary. We all know dogs are a great judge of character, so I was feeling even more confident about the new relationship. As we all sat in the family room watching television and small-talking, I asked a question that I regret until this day. With no ill intent, I asked, "Why didn't you have more children?" They shared about a miscarried son, and they had tried for more siblings but were not blessed with more. The next time I would see her mother, she would be yelling out of a moving car at me. Based on a true story. Until Mom Do Us Part.
Until Mom Do Us Part. My father-in-law is in his late 60s, about 6'1", and recently retired in the past few months. He is making the transition into retirement, so his days aren't very busy, but he has a lot of local friends around town. He is very well liked from what I can see, and he knew a couple of individuals when we were out to eat. I've crossed paths with some of his former colleagues, and they all spoke very highly of my father-in-law and how he conducted himself at work for over 20 years. He is a blue-collar worker, easygoing, and more hands-off with parenting. He comes from a big family with over 7 siblings. My mother-in-law is in her mid-60s, stands a little over 5 foot tall, and has 1 sibling. She has been retired for a handful of years, but did not retire from the company. She left on bad terms, and from what I learned, she ended up suing them. It's safe to assume there was no retirement party for her. She has a small group of friends, but is not as popular and well-liked as the father. I believe most would categorize her as a helicopter mom. I'm starting to learn about her temper and that she tends to fabricate stories. It was February, and my organization closed due to snow. I had a free day home, so my girlfriend offered to come over during her lunch break. I remember this vividly because we ate lunch in my apartment, then we walked outside to her car. My apartment complex entrance led to Main Street downtown. While we walked toward the street, a small sedan slowed speed, and an older woman with a grumpy face yelled at us quickly out of the car window while driving. We couldn't make out what she was saying, but I could tell she was pissed. To yell in traffic in a small town is crazy. My girlfriend turned to me and said, "I think that was my mom." Looking embarrassed, she walked across the street to her car, then I watched her drive away. Seconds later, as I'm still standing outside alone near the street, my girlfriend's mother's car turns the corner and she's yelling out the window again. Based on a true story, Until Mom Do Us Part. Thank you for viewing and sharing my story. Visit www.untilmomdouspart.com for full episodes and new releases. Follow Until Mom Do Us Part verified pages. Based on a true story, Until Mom Do Us Part.
Until Mom Do Us Part. As the car was approaching and my girlfriend's mother was yelling out the window, I was baffled. The last time I saw this woman, everything was fine and I was in their home visiting with her daughter. This was a one-way street, so her mother had to make a block, which takes 2 minutes due to lights and other drivers. This time when she approached, I stepped closer to the street, even though my girlfriend had already left. Her mother slowed down the car to yell out, but I could not hear the words. I smiled and responded, "What? I can't hear." Her mother was mad at my response, then yelled out loudly, "I do not like what you two are doing." Taken aback, I responded, "What are we doing?" This made her even more irate to the point she screamed it again, "I do not like what you two are doing," and stomped on the gas pedal and sped off. I felt a range of emotions. First, I felt confusion. What in the world is going on with this lady, and what did she assume we did? Second, I felt anger because I did not do anything intentional, and if I did something, this was not the right way to handle it. Lastly, I felt embarrassed for myself and my girlfriend as this happened in public for no reason. I called my girlfriend to tell her about her mother's behavior and what she said. My girlfriend mentioned her mother may have become upset because she wanted to have lunch with her, but my girlfriend had elected to hang out with me instead for lunch. That means her mother had been circling my apartment for an entire hour, trying to catch us exiting. She knew we were both inside the apartment because our cars were parked on the street. I was appalled and instantly asked for space from my girlfriend and her family. This was a red flag for me, as I was not looking for any drama or issues as I finished my degree. I told my girlfriend her mother had crossed a very important line in respect, and I did not intend to continue our relationship without clear boundaries. We did not talk or text each other at all for the next 6 days. When we finally spoke, she had talked to her parents, and they agreed to back off and stay out of the relationship. I soon learned at spring break I was no longer welcome to their driveway. Chuckle. Based on a true story. Until Mom Do Us Part.
Until Mom Do Us Part. Over the next month, the relationship progressed, and we planned our first vacation trip together for spring break. To limit any more drama with her parents, we did not communicate at all. I also ensured whenever we were together that she returned home by 10 p.m., even on the weekends. It was so apparent her parents asked why she didn't hang out late anymore. The trip was planned to my home state so she could meet all my friends and family. When my girlfriend informed her parents of the trip, they scoffed at her spending the night at my home for multiple days. To pacify her parents, she showed them there were 2 rooms in my home. I definitely thought this was over the top for a woman in her late 20s who has already openly dated away from home. After all, we were getting serious and truly falling in love. It was a Friday afternoon, and we were set to leave around 2 p.m. My girlfriend had originally planned to leave her car in the apartment parking lot and ride with me. She called to inform me that her parents would rather her car stay at their home during the trip. This now meant I had to go to her home to pick her up. I was unsure and asked if it was a good idea, considering the drama from February. Most importantly, her mother had never apologized for her behavior, so the respect I had for her was minimal based on her behavior to this point. My girlfriend assured me this would be just a pickup and she would come outside when I called. I agreed and called my girlfriend to let her know I was on the way. During the call, she let me know that her mother had all of a sudden began to sit outside and pretend to look at her flowers, knowing I was about to arrive for the pickup. When I arrived, both parents were sitting in chairs. After they identified it was me in the car, her mother instantly jumped from her seat. Once again, the grumpy-faced woman was yelling, "Get out of my driveway! You are not welcomed!" Now more prepared for her antics, I politely smiled while my girlfriend entered the car. We backed out while her mother stormed closer to the car, making an even bigger scene and causing her husband to hold her back. She invited me over and tried to provoke a negative verbal encounter. It didn't work, and we drove off. Based on a true story. Until Mom Do Us Part.